Incredible DNA for incredible suburbs. What makes an incredible suburb? Is it willing to pay? Are you willing to pay the price for that incredible suburb? Stay tuned.
I'm the ringleader, so listen up.
Good morning.
Mr. SILJIC, how are you?
I'm doing well, Mark. How are you going?
Good, bud. This is your topic for today. We're interested in people's response to what we're going to talk about as well. So it's a live show, so feel free to comment or share.
Yes.
Michael, we are constantly dealing with prospective purchasers that are challenged by this topic of DNA in suburbs. They're looking at suburbs. They're going, you know what? I can move one suburb to the left, save you a bit of money. I can move one suburb to the right, may have to pay more money. What is making up the DNA in those suburbs to make them so valuable? And is it worth the sacrifice?
Yeah, good question. So when we're speaking with a lot of buyers, and obviously this talk is going to be mainly Northern Beaches based, and I guess the application can be to wider Sydney as well. But when we're speaking with buyers, a lot of people say, I really want to buy in this particular suburb. I won't consider the suburb next door, but I want this suburb. And a lot of the times as agents, we're going, why are you looking at that? And for example, there's a few suburbs across the Northern Beaches that literally there's neighbouring suburbs that offer very similar utilities. And I think for a lot of buyers, they have ideas in their mind of why they want to buy a particular area. And sometimes I think it's not necessarily in their best interest either.
Look, I think, and we know what we know, like there's a couple of things. What makes up expensive suburbs? Proximity to a CBD. Yes. And proximity to water is a massive one across the world, across New South Wales, across Sydney. People love that proximity. Water can be a harbour, water can be a beach. They will pay for the privilege. They'll also pay for the privilege to be close to the CBD. So if we travel around Sydney CBD, we see suburbs like Double Bay. We see suburbs like Manly. We see suburbs like Hunters Hill. And all of these guys, what they all have in common is water and proximity to the city. Then when you start tapering away from the water, the prices will come down on a micro, macro, whatever level, whether it's a kilometre or 50 kilometres, people pay less as they go further away, either from that CBD or from that water or both.
And then the follow-up is
there's a couple of layers behind that. Yeah.
So there's schools, there's other developments, there's parks, shopping centres. So there's sort of, and I think exactly what you said there, Mark, those two initial layers, they're probably the biggest factors in terms of what drives a pricing for a suburb. And then when you peel off, you go to those more micro layers, people looking at for those schools, are there parks around, how close is the nearest shopping as well, because that will dictate in terms of the pricing of the property.
Schools is a big one. Yesterday, I was going for a drive through Strathfield and I had Stevan Bubalo in the car and Billy Drury in the car, where famous people live. That can make an area appealing. It's true. It's true. But you know what? Even the like Russell Crowe, I guess, you know, where's he? Nana Glen. He's in Nana Glen out of Coffs there, and it's been put on the map a little bit.
Wow.
But we were driving through Strathfield yesterday, and I had Stevan and Billy in the car. We were driving, and I am familiar. When I was 18, 19, 20, I spent a lot of time in Strathfield. So we went and did some training in an office in Strathfield. Great guys, Richard Matthews, top guys. We went through there, and what was interesting, as I said to the guys, these are $3, $4, $5 million houses, and you could see, like, Stevan goes, "What?" And Billy goes, "What are you talking about?" And I said, "Yeah, have a closer look at these homes. These homes had a lot of money spent on them. They were all 1,000 metre square blocks. They were fairly new homes. The construction was double brick concrete slab, so it cost almost double to build these homes over a conventional home. And I said, have a look at the driveways, guys. And the driveways went down the side. And I remember every time I used to go to these 18th or 21st birthday parties, they'd have them downstairs in the garage or a party of a sort, where you'd have 50 people in these garages. They're like 20-car garages, 15-car garages. The whole underneath of the home is a garage. Yeah. And then Steve goes, there's another driveway, there's another driveway, there's another driveway. All these homes had these types of garages. My point is, they were monster homes when you look at that construction cost. My point is, they were monster blocks. And Steve's going, I still don't get it. I still don't get why people would opt to live here. Schools is a big one. Culturally, there are certain, most cultures in the world really value education. And when they value education so much, that means they want to be close, and that drives the price up.
Mm. And that's on a macro level, and that all makes sense in terms of why people want to live closer to CBDs, because generally they do have better schools. Obviously, yes, a lot of CBDs in Australia got close proximity to water. But then when you break it down a little bit, people are paying massive premiums to literally be in one suburb over another suburb next door. I can understand the difference between someone wanting to live within half an hour of Sydney CBD versus someone that's living 2.5 hours inland in a central town out there, where that's completely different lifestyle. But when you break it down to someone that's going to pay maybe a 20, 30, 40, 50% premium to be in a suburb next door, is it really worth it?
Yeah, it reminds me of a story. A really good mate of mine, Ed Faulkner. I was 30 years of age. I just bought my house, and I said to him, and this is like going back 15, 17 years ago, and I said, mate, we'll be here for probably 3 years, 5 years, then we'll sell this house. We'll go closer to the water. Close to the water was, where literally you can hit a golf ball into the water, close to the water, maybe even on the water. Yes. And he goes, yeah, that's great. Just add 15 years to your working life, 10 years to your working life. I was like, what? He goes, well, if you're here for if you're in this house you just purchased forever, by the time you get to 50, things get a bit comfy. You may do other things, but if you want to be chained to your desk for another 10 or 15 years because you've got this huge mortgage, because you did this huge upgrade, he said, that's cool. And I was like, and the penny really dropped. People are spending for this suburb DNA. You got to make sure you're willing to make that sacrifice, because it is going to add longer to your working life. And you are sleeping on your money. It's not like you're buying an investment for $1 million that's going to be rented out and pay itself off over time. You're sleeping on your money. You're paying a mortgage. You can't rent it. You're not renting it out. Is it worth it when you're choosing your suburb DNA?
Yeah, exactly. Like even into suburb. For example, let's use Dewa obviously being a core area here. You can buy, and I can understand for a buyer looking to buy let's say an apartment down near the beach that's got an ocean view right above the beach. You pay a premium for it, but you wake up every day, you look at your amazing view. Or versus you get an apartment that's just as close to the beach, doesn't have a view, you still pay a big premium for it, versus maybe an apartment on the western side of Pittwood Road further away. You can get identical apartments, yet there can be hundreds of thousands of dollars difference in price. And I guess as a buyer, some buyers I think have genuine rationale. They spend a lot of time at the beach. They maybe have friends and family that live right down that end. They've always lived down there. So for them, that's what they want and that's what they feel right. Versus some people I feel like are just buying down there because, that's the more desirable location. That's where I want to be. And I think you really need to break it down for yourself. And exactly what you said, Mark, where if you're buying something that is X amount more expensive than what you maybe could buy for something similar, not too far away, are you happy to make that trade-off in terms of working extra years, working harder, maybe the opportunity cost of where your money could go elsewhere, maybe family holidays and so forth as well? And I'm not saying there's any right or wrong between it, but to really break down and understand why you're actually doing it, as opposed to sometimes I feel like it's almost just a bit of a fad that people follow.
Is it wank? Are you doing it? Are you doing it for wank? Are you doing it for your tribe, your community? Are you doing it for education? Are you doing it for lifestyle? There are so many driving factors, some good, some bad, that people are doing this for, and you sort of think, you know what? No one's right or wrong to say you shouldn't do that and you should do that. You do you, right? You know what I mean? Like you do that there. But the factors in that DNA that are very, very interesting, that are often overlooked, and to take it from the top again in some sort of order, not perfect order, would be proximity to a CBD. That's important for the race, for the human race. Proximity to a water being harbour or beach. Proximity to excellent schooling, to good schooling for the kids. Proximity to, what were the other ones we've got there? Infrastructure, I think transport infrastructure is a framework, like train stations, bus stations, and that sort of stuff. That's important. And then you got
shopping
parks,
centres, you got parks,
shopping centres,
hospitals.
But that something that doesn't particularly we haven't particularly spoken about. It's a tribal thing, and having your mum, dad, brothers, sisters, school friends, and people that you're growing up with is absolutely critical into our existence. And you will sometimes have to pay more in your suburb DNA for that feature, because you just want to have mum and dad close because they look after the kids. And that there's that tribal thing. I think that's been tested. A lot of people through COVID have actually left their tribe and they've gone to different parts of Australia or Sydney or New South Wales. I'm starting to see people come back because they undervalue the tribe thing. It's sort of there. When it's gone, you didn't realise.
I think that is a big thing. I think that's a great point you made there in terms of that tribal thing, where like it's 100% worth it if you've got mum and dad that live in a particular suburb and you aspire because you want to live near with them because they can look after the kids and so forth. That makes genuine sense to me. Like that's not like what you said, the fat or the wank factor from before. That really makes sense if that's what you want to work towards. Maybe it is worth those extra years and you're working hard to get into that particular suburb if it's more expensive. It just makes sense. But I guess we're sort of trying to challenge the status quo. For example, I keep referring back to DY. With DY, a lot, even from when I started 7 years ago, a lot of people I only want to be down DY beachfront. That is where I want to be because obviously proximity to the water there. It's amazing even over the past couple of years, the shift I've noticed, especially with all these major developments on Pittwater Road in terms of all these new buildings that have gone up, especially the Meriton Lighthouse building as well, with the beeline right at the front. How some people now, you speak to some buyers and they go, I love the beachfront, but I'd actually rather be towards Pittwater Road, maybe not on Pittwater Road, but towards the Pittwater Road end because it's closer to shops, it's closer for me to walk to the bus in the morning.
And they're doing it every day. So they may be going to the beach twice a week, but they're walking to those shops and to that transport twice a day, three times a day, so that they need that access. So it's a big one to look at. We've got any more comments from this morning?
We've got a question from Ray here. Also not a question, but a comment. People pay more to be in a catchment for a specific school, 100%. It's amazing what some people do. Yeah. Literally streets apart, if you're in that catchment or not, people will stop someone buying a house, even if you've got the perfect house 2 streets down from your perfect location. If it's just outside of that catchment, sometimes it'll actually stop someone buying a property.
These things that we've spoken about are like tentacles, and there's not just one or two of them, there's almost hundreds of them. So I think when you're making up a suburb DNA, it is a specific DNA to a specific person for specific needs. It's not one size fits all. It's a DNA. So these suburbs and what people are doing, to be in these suburbs, I think the laws of average are making them great suburbs because more people want that particular feature.
Correct.
Like you said, if mum and dad have lived in Manly their whole life, and you just want that convenience of having mum and dad there, you're going to have to pay a premium for it to be in that suburb, but it could be worth it.
Yeah, and I just think, I guess, without getting too deep from today, challenge the reason why you think you want to buy in a particular area. And exactly like Mark said, in terms of there's lots of reasons why certain suburbs do very well, but think about what is actually important to you. And what you might actually find is it opens up your horizons to maybe other areas you wouldn't have even considered as well, maybe within a couple of suburbs of where you're ideally looking, or maybe even different areas in Sydney.
I think some people get caught up in aspirational for being aspirational, to have aspirational, to get aspirational. And it's like, what are you doing it for? Do you know what I mean? So I think to stop, like a mate of mine did 18 years ago, whatever it was, stopping me in my tracks and saying, it's great you want to be in your house for 2 or 3 years and go to a house that's closer to the water, but that's going to add 10 years to your life or to your working life, or maybe 15 years to your working life, and that stopped me dead in my tracks. Do you know what I mean? So I think, and that because I was probably just like, yeah, that's just what I want. You know, I'm 28, 30, whatever, just what I want because I want shit I want. And then when someone stopped me and actually questioned it, I was like, yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, food for thought.
Food for thought. Incredible DNA for incredible suburbs today. Hope we've helped people out there. It does apply what we spoke about worldwide. It's not just our specific suburbs. So I'd encourage, in conclusion, I would encourage people to do a list, to do your DNA list of what's important to you out of your suburbs, and you may want to swap your suburb and save yourself hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you, Mark. Pleasure as always.
Thank you, Legend.
Cheers. Thanks, guys.
I'm at Kirribilli Station. Look.
Yeah.
Talking about transport. Look out there.
And the density, high density, always happens to be around obviously public transport.
There's a train. Hey.
You bike ride to work. It's brilliant.
Well, that's right. Level bike ride. All those things are important.
Yeah, 100%. Awesome. Thanks, guys.
See you, Legend. Bye, everyone. Have a great day. See you. Bye.